Haitian lives matter.
Nous dit tout le monde bonsoir, nous live depuis dans Washington, jeudi, côté gagné, et plusieurs, avec dizaines haïtiens qui ont même réuni et jeudi là, donc dans Washington, pour capable venir protester contre les mauvais traitements donc haïtiens qui ont même y a recevoir. Donc nous allons commencer à aller comme ça, côté gagné et rassemblement qui a fait, et donc gagné et délégation qui sortit plusieurs côtés et qui sortit Florida, qui sortit Boston, donc Massachusetts, qui sortit tout et dans l'autre État côté venu pour venir délivrer un message par le président américain Joe Biden, donc pour le modèle et camper ensemble avec les déportations et haïtiens. Donc nous là, le mouvement lui-même licence qui va commencer là, c'est des marches donc nous avons fait et patienter ensemble avec nous donc pour nous capables de lancer et très rapidement là côté gagnant et plusieurs dizaines de monde qui ont même déjà réunis donc dans le cadre et mobilisation ça pour être capable de lancer et mouvement ça. Donc c'est plusieurs organisations des jeunes d'hier donc qui sortent qui gagnent dirigeants donc à Fab qui est donc dans Boston qui gagne organisation Femmes Tout nous et Marlène Bastien donc les mêmes qui est là et eux même donc qui viennent réunir jeudi pour capable délivrer nous dans Lafayette Square donc dans et Washington pour et délivrer message ça donc bail et président et Joe Biden jeudi donc puisque nous connaît gagné et coronavirus qui lui-même dehors et ça qui la cause gagné et en pile le monde il va pas venir et dans et donc pour y être capable et arriver venir dans et mobilisation ça qui lancé donc Jean et nous capable de suivre là nous dans et Lafayette Square côté mouvement donc lui est déjà lancé et donc on a préparé alors pour être capable de commencer ensemble avec le mouvement nous essayer et quelques photos qui apprend quelques séances qui a fait gagner et plusieurs pancartes donc qui gagnent stand up et pour Haïti gagner et l'autre pancarte encore qui marquait stop de déportation donc camper avec déportation hein. Donc on y a là nous avons avancé plus près pour aller garder et gagner il faut que nous noter et c'est pas seulement haïtiens qui gagnent et dans le mouvement ça gagnent et en pile et blanc là dans tout qui eux même et donc viennent supporter et mouvement et haïtiens qui viennent supporter cause et pour et haïtiens yo gens nous capable suivre là donc il y a un bande qui déjà réuni et jeudi là et donc pour capable mettre animation dans la Lafayette Square et donc pour et dans l'occasion et manifestation ça qui a fait là alors on dit protestation ça qui a fait là qui a demandé et camper ensemble avec mauvais traitement haïtien yo camper déportation et puis tout bail et résidence avec et monde qui sans document puisque nous connaît une loi et qui devant congrès jusqu'à présent qui a demandé et en fait pour capable régulariser situation et monde sans document donc pas ici seulement c'est environ 12 millions donc c'est environ 12 millions donc en I'm sorry.
Everybody line up. We just had to have the media over there.
Yeah. Excuse me.
So everybody will be behind the banners.
बैंड से अच्छा मजा आ रहा है भाई।
c'était en prestation, donc, donc un groupe musical qui vient là, donc avant. Et activité donc les mêmes les lancés pour gagner et discours pour le faire.
I want to teach you a song if you don't know this one. It's real easy, very easy. Everyone can join in.
come here to tell Joe Biden that.
All right, everybody, how are we feeling? Give it up for Too Much Talent Band, the movement band. They've been coming to a lot of protests, giving us some good energy. So, yes, we're about to start. But before, what do we want? Citizenship. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Citizenship. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Citizenship. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? When do we want it? Now. When? Now. When? Now. That's right. And whose house is that? Our house. So, Biden, escucha. Estamos en la lucha. Biden, escucha. Estamos en la lucha. That's right. How do you say that in Creole?
Biden, tente, no woli. Biden, tente, no woli.
Yes.
Biden, no bataille. Biden, tente, no bataille. Biden, tente, no bataille. You never see Biden, the promise is a debt. 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 No justice, no peace. No freedom, no peace. No justice,
No peace.
no freedom,
No peace.
no justice, no freedom. What do we want? Qui ça nous plaît?
Président.
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 Qui la nous plaît? Qui la nous plaît?
Kounia.
Qui la nous plaît? Demain? Mois prochain?
Non.
Année prochaine? Qui la nous plaît?
Kounia.
Qui la nous plaît? Qui la? Qui la? Qui la? Qui la?
All right. Thank you, Miss Marlene and the band and everyone else for coming out. I know usually when we gather, we talk about really heavy things and the difficulties that our communities have faced. But it's always beautiful that we can still come together as a community and exude this level of joy, even in the midst of the atrocities that the people back there have imposed on our communities. So we are here today to call out the administration for the harm that they've done to our communities with implementing Trump-era policies like Title 42, the separations that they've done to our families. And we are also here to demand and ask them to deliver protections for our communities, for millions and millions of us with as little harm as possible. We're here in the holiday season celebrating, but as many of us cannot celebrate with the people that we love the most because we are separated by these horrific and cruel policies, by this horrific and cruel immigration system. So we are gathered today to hear an amazing group of speakers not only share their testimony, but again, demand action and demand that the people behind us in this White House, as well as in Congress, that they deliver to us this year. And so with that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Fabiola, and then she's also going to introduce some of our other speakers.
Thank you. Sí se puede. Hi everybody, my name is Fabiola Menita Cuapio, and I'm here from the Office of the Public Advocate of New York City, Jumanity Williams. We are here today with people from all over the country that have been affected by the Biden administration. And we can be divided right now. They are our brothers, our sisters, who are being separated. And it's time to stand all together and tell his administration to keep their promise. They have the power, and we're not taking no for an answer. We are not. And with that, thank you, Hattie. Thank you, We're Home. Thank you, everyone who's here today And I'm gonna present the first speaker. Sasha has a beautiful testimony, a witness in 2018 when her husband was deported back to Haiti. And she is from Families for Freedom. And welcome, Sasha.
Good morning, people. Good morning. You see, Biden and Kamala, they gave us that little fake, we're going to do some immigration reform in 100 days, right? They lied to us. My name is Janae, but I'm being called Sasha because we live in a world where I can be a girl today and a boy tomorrow. So the same way we have those choices, we should give our Haitian and black migrants a pathway to citizenship. They took Gene and deported him in 2018 due to a 30-year-old drug conviction that he committed at the age of 18. Imagine something that us having to pay the price twice because we was born on the other side of the wall. We don't want dividers. Home is where your heart is. No one can tell me where my home is. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but DC is my home. My father's a Jamaican immigrant. Jamaica is my home. I had kids with a Haitian man. Haiti is my home. We sit there and they tell us, oh, this is the law. But we got to think about it. Slavery was once the law. And we got to let them know that just because something is law, that doesn't make it right. We also have to let them know that the same way they pushing these COVID vaccines, they need to push a pathway to citizenship. It's not right. We should have to look on the news and watch them beating people with whips and chains. If you know how tough it is in Haiti, I went to Haiti and saw the struggle of my people that broke my heart. Gina was returned back because I didn't give up. Our marriage didn't make it due to unforeseen circumstances, but I told my kids, when I decided to have kids with that Haitian man, he's a great father, and I'm not going to stop until you get your dad back. My son, Josiah Montreville, was a scholar in Brooklyn Tech. Freshman year, if you look on his Facebook page, you'll see him there with Gene. They kidnapped Gene. Josiah was ready to drop out of high school. Do you know what that did to me? You don't mess with my children. You don't mess with my people. They say, si se prada, I say, stop, I say. I'm tired of this. We got to keep on making their life uncomfortable. It's no way 10 days from Christmas. We got to be out here demanding for a human right. This is not a privilege. When I go to Haiti, they open me with open arms. So they should be welcome to come over here. It's sad. Biden administration and Kamala, you've been very quiet, sis. We see you too. And we vote these people in. We got to vote their ass out. That's right. That's right.
No justice! No peace! No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
Thank you. Yes, Fabiola can do that.
Sí, ella dijo que el nombre de ella es Sasha, que su verdadero nombre se tiene que esconder y ella se tuvo que llamar Sasha, y así como podemos ser de un hombre un día, una mujer otro día, lo mismo estamos pasando ahora, ¿verdad? Podemos estar en casa ahora y emigrar a otro lugar también. Ella también habló del testimonio de cuando su esposo fue deportado a Haití en el 2018. Yo no lo llamaría un crimen, yo más lo llamaría un error que él cometió, porque muchos de los jóvenes de nosotros cometen errores, pero él fue penalizado más de 2 veces por un error que él ya había pagado y que ya había servido su sentencia, y después de ahí el sistema lo deportó. Ella se quedó ahí. Yo fui testigo de esa ocasión tan cruel, porque a él lo secuestraron prácticamente, lo escondieron para podérselo llevar. Y a pesar de que se hizo una protesta grande, no lo pudimos recuperar. Y se quedaron sus 3 hijos. Pero ¿sabes qué? Sus 3 hijos son brillantes y ella les prometió que lo iba a traer de regreso. Jean está con nosotros ahora en casa. Jean regresó a Nueva York. ¿Pero saben por qué regresó? Por mujeres como Sasha. Por mujeres que no se dejen que esto pase. Y como ella lo dijo, si tú te metes con mis hijos, tú te metes conmigo. Y también dijo que Miss Harris, estás muy callada. Tú prometiste mucho y tú eres una de ellos. Y no has dicho nada. Así es que tú tienes el poder. Y tú, acuérdate, eres mujer y podemos hacer cambios. Ella también te llamó a ti.
The people united, we live.
be divided. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be divided. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I realized in the excitement of getting started, I actually did not introduce myself or my home organization. So my name is Hadi Gassama, and I serve as the Legislative Strategy Manager for the We Are Home campaign. It is a campaign of over 200 organizations, such as the ones that all of you represent, that came together to demand that this administration deliver this year to our community. My home organization is the Undocu Black Network, where I serve as the Policy and Advocacy Director of the network. We are a network of currently and formerly undocumented Black immigrants. And as we know, the immigration justice system is not only cruel, but it is a white supremacist and anti-Black system. And we need to stop it now. Stop it now, because Black lives what? Matter. Black lives what? Matter. Black lives what? Matter. And so with that, I will introduce our next speaker, who is Professor Jackson Rottinger from Little Haiti, Brooklyn. Professor.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Same.
It's been a difficult couple of years, I tell you, with this, especially in our community. I'm going to give you guys a little history lesson. We have been adding value to the United States since the founding of the United States. Immigrants add value. Immigrants add value. We all add value.
There's no recovery without immigrants.
So let me explain what I mean by that. In my culture, in Haitian culture, we fought with the American colonists against the British, with the French against the British, for the war, for the American Revolutionary War. It's called the Battle of Savannah. Haitians with the French, shoulder to shoulder, with American colonists fighting for the revolution of America, fighting for the independence of America. Many people don't know that. We've been adding value. And in 1803, you had the Louisiana territories that more than doubled the size of the United States. Do you know how it happened? It only happened because Napoleon Bonaparte lost the war in Haiti. Once he lost the war in Haiti, he gave up all his dreams and ambitions of establishing an empire in the Americas. So he needed money, so he sold the Louisiana territories, which overnight doubled the size of the United States. Overnight. And it was the first westward expansion. Those of you who know history, you know what I'm talking about. So that gives rise to the whole idea of manifest destiny. The whole idea of from sea to shining sea. It only started with the Haitian Revolution. Most people don't know that. We have the Tuskegee Airmen, where you have a number of Haitian aviators who fought with America in World War II, and the American Armed Forces, and the American Air Force. We've been adding value since the beginning. Not to mention right now, where we have all these professionals, all these first responders, all these essential workers, the doctors, the nurses, the lawyers, the engineers, all these other professionals. We add value. Immigrants add value to this country. We are making it better. We are a nation of immigrants. Let me say it again. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. Thank you so much.
Say it in Creole. Asian Creole.
Oh, who's the next speaker? I'm sorry, I don't have the list.
You want it in Creole?
Yes.
Jackson, can you summarize it in Creole? He wants it in Creole. Oh my God. Summarize it. Just summarize it.
So en créole, nous allons dire que depuis 1779, Haïti a add value. Haïti a contribué sous pays ça. So nous te bataille dans Savannah, Georgia, the Battle of Savannah. Nous te aidé Américains bataille against l'Angleterre for the Revolutionary War. C'est la première fois. Deuxième fois, c'est Louisiana Territories Purchase. Là, c'est peut-être Haïti te bat Napoléon. Et peut-être ça, Napoléon te vend territoire là pour to the United States. Ça, c'est la deuxième fois nous contribuons sur le pays ça. En troisième fois, nous avons gagné during World War II, guerre du monde, deuxième guerre du monde, nous avons pile aviators qui étaient from Haïti. Les finis ont bataille avec l'Amérique during World War II. Les finis qu'on est là, nous avons pile docteurs, nous avons pile infirmières, nous avons pile avocats, nous avons pile professionnels, nous avons pile monde qui est essential workers, qui tout est là, qui toujours à contribuer pour payer ça. Tout immigrant contribue pour payer ça. Et ça me dit, tout immigrant contribue pour payer ça. 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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Equality for all. Equality for all. Equality for all.
Equality for all. Equality for all.
Thank you for that, Professor, for that wonderful and sobering history lesson for all of us. Our next speaker is the illustrious and amazing Miss Marlene Bastien, who is the founder and executive director for Family Action Network, also known as FAM. Miss Marlene.
Good morning. Bonjour. Y buenos dias. Today is a blessed day for all of us. I would like to start by thanking Jackson Wackinster from Habnet, Lil Haiti Brooklyn. Now Miami, you're not the only one with a Lil Haiti. Brooklyn also has a Lil Haiti. Lil Haiti Brooklyn, who first contacted me about this gathering this morning. And I'm happy because they were joined by We Are Homes, Firm, and many other organizations. I represent an organization in Miami, in Little Haiti, the only place in the US where immigration intersects with climate gentrification. I came here as a young refugee in 1981. 2 days after I arrived, I started volunteering at the Haitian Refugee Center, which was the only organization providing free legal services to Haitian refugees, to the Black Haitian refugees who were coming en masse. There was a parallel immigration, if you recall, where Haitian refugees and Cuban refugees were coming together. The Cubans were coming from a communist country. The Haitians were coming from one of the worst dictatorships in modern history. While the Cubans were released, as they should have been after a few days, given work permit, had the chance to become permanent residents after a year, and US citizens after a year, as they should have been, the Haitians were kept in detention centers around the US, including Puerto Rico, in complete denial of their basic rights of due process. After volunteering at the Haitian Refugee Center, I was hired as a paralegal and advocate, where we went to Qom, the then infamous Qom Detention Center, where for 5 years I went there to assist the Haitian refugees with their political asylum process. My dear friends, when I looked at with my eyes what occurred in Del Rio a few weeks ago, and I was there with a delegation, when I witnessed Border Patrol officers mounted in powerful horses tracking down our brothers and sisters as if in slavery time. Some of them have their children in their arms, and then they were trying to balance keeping their children and trying to evade the lashes of the masters. Make no mistake, these are the new masters. It appeared like I was back at the Haitian Refugee Center 40 years ago. How is that possible, my dear friends? How is that possible? It looked to me like me seeing me as a young refugee 40 years ago in last September, with the big horses, not with Border Patrol, but with police officers tracking us down, trying to trample us as we were on the streets in Little Haiti, fighting for the basic rights of due process of the Haitian refugees and sending messages to the then administration that immigration must be the same for all. My dear friends, we never asked the U.S. to open the floodgates and let everybody in. What we've always asked was that if there is a policy, if there is an immigration policy, it ought to be implemented equally across the board. There cannot be a set of policy for the blonde blue eyes and a different set of policy for the black and brown immigrants. Now, what are we dealing with here? What are we dealing with? We have an administration with a president, with a democratic president, who promised to bring equity to his administration. Guess what, guys? He lied. He lied. We have a vice president who promised to open the door for us. Guess what, guys? What happened? She lied. We have a democratic administration using the racist Trump-era policy to deport Haitians in complete denial of their rights of due process. Because after all, my friends, make no mistake, Title 42 was a way for President Trump to deport refugees without giving them due process. And this is the same policy that the Biden administration, the so-called democratic administration, is implementing. Now, why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep doing that? And before I get to that and to end, it's not all. They criticized President Trump for forcing refugees to stand across the border in Mexico rather than letting them in to state their cases in a court of law. But because legally, the U.S. has a legal obligation. The U.S. signed domestic and international treaties dictating the way they should treat refugees coming to their door. The Haitians, our brothers and sisters from Haiti, from Guatemala, from El Salvador, from Nicaragua, from Africa, when they try to come to the border to seek asylum, they are doing the right thing, guys. They are not illegal. And the U.S. is legally obligated to afford them the basic right of due process. Now, and the last thing they promised and they did not deliver, to the 800,000 DACA recipients, to the 600,000 TPS recipients, to the essential workers in this country, to the undocumented who every day give their all to this country and contribute to the social, political, and economic fabric of this great nation. Because we make America great. We, the immigrants, will make America great. Let me hear you. Immigrants make America great. Let me hear you. Immigrants make America great. And they promised permanent residency because President Biden promised to do things differently. that the TPS recipients, the DACA recipients, the essential workers, the farm workers, the undocumented will get permanent residency, trailblazing a path to citizenship. They also lie. They also lie. Now to my conclusion. To my conclusion. My dear friends, why do they keep lying over and over again? Why? And the second question is, why do we continue to vote for them? Yes, that is the key. That is the key. The Do Nothing Congress has been giving us blank checks for a long time. The Know Nothing Congress have been giving us blank checks for a long time. What happens if they keep giving you blank checks and then you keep saying, oh, you resign yourself, oh, there's nothing I can do? They will continue to give you blank checks. But guess what? Guess what? We are tired of it. We are tired of being tired. We are tired of being tired. We are asking the Biden administration to stop all deportations to Haiti right now. We are asking the Biden administration to end Title 42 right now. We are asking the Biden administration to provide humanitarian parole to Haitian refugees and all refugees for that matter right now. We are asking for permanent residency, trailblazing a path to citizenship to all immigrants of this country right now. Because we are tired. The time is now. The time is now. What do we want? Residency. Residency, when do we want it? Now. What do we want? Residency. And when do we want it? Now. Qui ça nous voulait? Qui l'a nous besoin? Qui l'a nous besoin? Demain? Mois prochain? Que queremos? Que queremos? Residencia. Cuando? Ahora. Que queremos? Cuando? El próximo día? El próximo mes? El próximo año? When do we want it? Cuando necesitamos? Cuando necesitamos? All right. Now guys. No, the action. You're not going to go like that. What do we do? What do we do? What we are doing now is right. Is the right thing. And I know I'm speaking too long. What we are doing now is the right thing. But guess what? We need to build power. Yes. We need to find a way to build power. Because the Democratic Party, the Do Nothing Congress, they keep doing the same thing to us because they know we have not been able to exert enough power to move them. And you know, it's a question of balance. It's a question of homeostasis. As long as you cannot build power to move those you want to move, they will continue to treat you the way they are treating you. So let us build power, not only political power, not only organizing power like we are doing at Family Action Network Movement. For 30 years, we are celebrating our 30th year anniversary, standing up for what is right, but we also need to build economic power, folks. We need to also build economic power, folks, so that when we stand up together, we have the power to move those in power, and when they do not want to keep their promise, we move them away. The time is now. The time is now. Because, my dear friends, tomorrow, you hear me? Tomorrow, there will be no time. Thank you.
Kamala, renuncia si no puedes con esta lucha. Kamala, renuncia si no puedes con esta lucha.
Thank you for those powerful words, Miss Marlene. Thank you so much for laying out the history of this country and laying out the fact that anti-blackness has...
Excuse me. The next election is coming. Let them know. If they do nothing, we'll vote them out.
Got you. Got you.
Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out!
All right. I hear you.
We're going to the Biden, man. The Biden, we put it in our house.
Yes.
We do nothing, we'll put it out.
Yes.
Biden is sleeping.
Yes, but he's about to be awoken by all of the noise we're making. So appreciate the energy. It is now my pleasure to introduce my good sis, my colleague, and the media and narrative director of the UndocuBlack Network, Miss the one and only Yoliswa Kumalo Hadave herself.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hello. I want to firstly say that I feel so, it's been a very, very long 5 years, but I feel so rejuvenated to see all of us still here, still coming together and still fighting for justice. And I say that to say, Biden and Kamala thought that we would be easy. They thought they would just come in and be better than the last guy and tell us how bad the last guy was and come in and we'd make things easy for them. And that's why you see them now not listening when we get into the streets, not paying attention when people are seeing videos of black immigrants being whipped at the border, because they're taking us for granted. Because they think that we won't put them to account and we won't hold them accountable. And I want to say that we've been having a lot of actions that have been happening for a number of weeks, and UndocuBlack has been in this fight for a number of years now. And as you all might know, especially in particular the black immigrants and the immigrants who have black immigrant organizations, is that as black immigrants we are constantly fighting for space. There are people who for the first time are just realizing that there are black immigrants in this country, and that there are black people who want a pathway to citizenship through green cards in this country. Why? Because even within, permiso. Even between our movements, we've had to fight for space within our own allies as black immigrant organizations. We've had to fight for space to speak at events as black organizations. We've had to fight for articles as black organizations. We've all been fighting together for the past 5 years against one singular threat, one singular, very, very obvious threat, obvious more than the others, who was Trump. That was our singular threat at that time. That was very visible and full straight at us, told us he was our enemy before he got into office. And because of politics, we were let down, and he got into office and he did everything to us that he said he was going to do to us. And we all band together as a whole immigrant movement. And so now when it's time for a pathway to citizenship, there cannot be any way where black immigrants are going to be left behind and our allies don't stand up. It's not possible that we were all fighting together during Trump, and then now when it's time for us to call for permanent protections, black immigrants have to stand and fight for themselves and say we are not going to be left behind. It's not possible. You all have heard a lot of history today about liberation, especially because we're here with our brothers and sisters from Haiti. The famous, the legendary Haiti. I'm South African, and I know the power of joined liberation movements, of the fact that for all of our movements, the only way we were able to be free as black people was when we fought together. It's for the same reason why during Black History Month, Kamala was not ashamed at all that they were deporting hundreds of black immigrants during February, the 1 month in this country that's dedicated to everyone remember what these black people did in this country for a little while. They were deporting pregnant women and children back to Haiti, back to Africa, back to Jamaica, back to other islands as well. And we were here as black immigrants, and we were in the street, and we were saying, Biden, unchain black mothers. Kamala, unchain black children. And guess what? Till today, just this week, there are still flights going out. You know why? Because there's not enough noise. There are not enough people that we have all stood beside that are not standing beside us now. We're not going to get what we need to get unless we have a full solidarity. Organizations like Movement for Black Lives helped and worked with UndocuBlack and wrote a letter with us. Movements like Black Lives Matter have collaborated with UndocuBlack before. Organizations like Build Power, who work on racial justice, have organized with UndocuBlack before. But now what we're saying is, this is urgent now. We need all our allies now. We need every single person who walks with the skin that we share and who knows how much we have to fight for space everywhere we go. You knew that there are black immigrants here because we told you that we were here. Now that everyone in the world saw what's happening at the border, you cannot unsee us. You cannot unsee us now. You cannot unsee me. You cannot unsee me who came here at 3 years old. Not because of my own choosing, but because there was violence in my country. And just like every other black country, when you see black people here, and when you see other people from Central Africa here, there is a fingerprint of the U.S. in our countries. There's a fingerprint of the U.S. across all of our countries when you see us coming here. It is justice. Who else are we supposed to go to? When you came and you bothered us and you kidnapped our brothers and sisters and you brought them here to build this country, what did you think? Any black immigrant that steps foot in this country, it is reparations. We should be rolled out a red carpet. You stole our siblings and you brought them here to be your slaves and build your country. You owe us. That's why we get in the street for Black Lives Matter, because we understand it. Until this day, a lot of our countries are not together, and you want to call us shithole countries? Why? Look at the fingerprints of the U.S. on all of our countries, on why our countries don't have stability and peace. So, what I'm saying is now, Congressional Black Caucus, Movement for Black Lives, Build Power, all the black celebrities who tweeted when you saw the thing that shook your blood and you saw children being whipped at the border. That was not the first time they were being abused, by the way. And it wasn't the last. Even after those videos came out, there was more. There were more. This is the time now where you have to understand that there's an injustice that is happening. The same way the George Floyd bill didn't get passed is the same way black immigrants are being left out of building back better. We want a green card pathway to citizenship. It's too late now for any temporary solutions. I have DACA. DACA just means that I can work for this country, you can take my taxes, and that's all I get. We are not going to move from hidden. First you kidnap our siblings and you make them here be your slaves. Then you have immigrants now that come here because you've messed up their countries, and now you make us just work on the side. We can work, but we have no rights. No, we are past temporary solutions now. It is a green card pathway to citizenship. We're done negotiating. And if you see here that everyone's very passionate, and if you might have seen my other video where I was calling Kamala out, it's because what? Kamala, we put you there. Biden, we put you there. Black people, black women put you there. So who else can call you to account but black women? Who else can put you to account except for black women? We put you there. Black and brown people put you there. So now we can hold you accountable. You have to keep your promises. We're holding you accountable, and we're not going to let it go, and we're not going to stop, and we're not going to be quiet. And you don't get to ignore us like you ignored us in February when you were deporting hundreds and hundreds, and when you are abusing African women, Cameroonian women, Nigerian women, Haitian women at the detention centers. You were abusing them there, and when they stood up to fight together in solidarity like we know as black people, you separated them and deported them. We remember, we were there, we were fighting. We've been fighting for years. There's some stories that the rest of America is hearing only now, but we've been doing it for years as black immigrant coalitions. We've been doing it for years. And we're not going to stop now. And you thought you caught us at our weakest and you can come and toss chips at us, but guess what? Actually, we're at our strongest, because now we don't care. We have nothing to lose. Don't make us have nothing to lose, because you're going to lose it all. Because we're not now, like we said, blank checks. We're not taking black checks. We're not taking promises. It's delayed. It's been justice deferred for hundreds of years. And it started when you kidnapped our siblings and you brought them here to build this same White House. Yes. That's why we say it's our house. Yes. Our people built that house. Yes. We need nothing less than a green card pathway to citizenship. And we need every single ally that we stood with when Trump was giving us all hell collectively to make noise and say you cannot leave anyone behind. We don't have to be black immigrants constantly fighting for ourselves in every space when you are here. We cannot be left behind. Every single celebrity that has come to this country that is an immigrant as well, stepped into this country with the work that we did to make sure when other immigrants come, they come in and they don't have to deal with the abuses we dealt with. Black people in this country who are enslaved and fought and freed themselves and worked with civil rights are the reasons why me, a black immigrant girl, can stand here today and talk the way that I talk. Yes. Harriet Tubman is the reason I can stand here and talk the way that I talk. Yes. Frederick Douglass is the reason I can stand here and talk the way that I talk. Yes. You do not get to unsee us. You do not get to erase our contributions to this country since the beginning when you kidnapped our brothers and sisters. So we're telling you now, we are not falling for the okie dokie Democratic Party. You have all the cards stacked in your favor. There is a black woman sitting there as a vice president who said she was an immigrant. When she wanted to come in here, she said she also comes from an immigrant like us. She used our work as black immigrant advocates. She used our work to get herself into the White House. After she left Howard back then, she went and she changed black people all across California. Then when black people held her to account, she said, I'm sorry. I'll do better. And all she's done is sit there while black people continue to be chained. And that's why I say, Kamala, you are not fit to sit in the seat that you sit in, because I don't know how you got there before Stacey did. I don't know how you got there. I don't know how you got there. I am more fit to sit there than you. I unchain my people. I fight for the liberation of my people. What do you fight for? What do you fight for, Kamala? What do you stand for? Because you're not going to step on our backs like you stood on the backs of the great people who created Howard and went and got an education, then went and chained black people. What did you learn at Howard? Now you sit and you walk in the corridors of the house that our people built, and you're going to tell us that you're going to now be in the history books as the first black woman president of what? Of what? What have you achieved since you've been in that office? What have you achieved? The last thing you can do, Kamala, as an apology to all of us, including the black women that you now get to stand and say you are the first of our president. You need to go and bypass the parliament. You need to get us a green card pathway to citizenship. Now! That is the only way to atone for what you have done. We're not going to wait for another year. Thousands and thousands and thousands of black people have been chained and sent back. Black Mauritanians. Do you understand that I came here when I was 3 because of the apartheid system, and people were protesting just like this, and the U.S. government was still trading with my oppressors? And that's why I had to leave my home, because the U.S. government was still trading with my oppressors. Do you know that there are 3-year-olds like Yoliso who were deported back to Haiti prior to the last earthquake? Do you know that there are other potential Yolisos that were sent back to Haiti, sent back to Mauritania, cut their future short? You owe us nothing less than a green card pathway to citizenship, and that's just the beginning of all the travesties that you have done and sat and be quiet when it was happening to your own people, Kamala. You are the first black woman president of what? We need a pathway to citizenship through green cards, and that's all we're going to take at this point. And anyone who's still signing us blank checks and empty promises, understand, we will vote you out. We will make you step aside if you will not step aside, because we don't have time to play with our lives. This is our lives. Black immigrants held together the healthcare system of this country. When you say home health aides, when you say CNA, when you say HHA, when you say nurses, when you say doctors, these are black immigrants who held together this country. My mother was a nurse. Since I've been here, she's been a nurse. Over 15 years of being a nurse in this country. When COVID was happening, she was wrapping herself in 3 layers of anything to survive. The only reason she has a green card today is because when Obama was in office with Biden, my mother was detained. My mother was detained and thrown into ICE. And that's the only reason my mom got her green card, because my brother at the time, and through the miracle of God and my ancestors, saved my mother from being deported back to South Africa and leaving her kids here after being a nurse and taking care of white and American people for over 15 years. Today, all the undocumented nurses that didn't get green cards like my mom did deserve their green cards now, yesterday. That's all we're going to take at this point. We're not taking empty promises, and we're not asking you. I want to be clear. I'm not asking. I'm not negotiating. We are demanding. Yes. Period. Thank you.
The mic is hot. Estamos en la lucha. Kamala, escucha. Estamos en la lucha. Kamala, escucha. Estamos en la lucha. Thank you, Yoliswa, for always reminding us that immigration is a black issue. Again, immigration is a black issue. One more time. Immigration is a black issue. And with that, I'd love to introduce the next speaker, who is Padmalin Oxilius, who is from the Florida Immigrant Coalition.
Can you all hear me? Yes. Great. So my name is Pat Marlin, and I am representing Florida Immigrant Coalition. It is an honor to be here with you all today. I am originally from Haiti, so I fit in well within the space, and I know the struggles that we are facing. I started, before all, I should say, I was not into politics until I started working as an interpreter, and I was interpreting for in different spaces, and I realized that black immigrants were being treated completely different when it was time for them to get assistance. So that's when I changed my major and majored in political science. So today I would like to call out a few leaders that have lied to their communities when they needed our support or to be nominated. The first person that I'm going to call out is Secretary Mayorkas. Today we are asking you for once and for all to end your agency's anti-immigrant abuses. And we feel like you have not been doing enough to stop ICE from harassing our families. The second individual that I would like to call out is Kamala Harris. Okay, in 2017, she tweeted, "Say it loud, say it clear, everyone is welcome here. Hashtag no ban, no wall." So after all these years of telling us this, and now that you are in power, you are in a position where you can make a difference, you choose not to do it. You need to stop being a hypocrite and stand behind your words.
Yes.
And the third and last person that I would like to call out, since we do not have much time, is our current president. When you took office, we were somewhat, very optimistic that your immigration policies would be better, but instead they're a disappointment. Today, we are asking you to end MPP and end Title 42 policy. This Title 42 is causing more harm, and it's our people paying the consequences. So, to end this, we are going to end this speech using Kamala's own words against her.
Go ahead.
Say it loud, say it clear, everyone is welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear, everyone is welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear, everyone is welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear, everyone is welcome here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, y'all, we are getting ready for the march portion of our action, and we're gonna have our field director of We Are Home, Diali, come give us some instructions on how to go about the march.
Thank you, Hattie. Who's ready to march? Okay, what I need you all is to do a line right here on my left. There's two banners at the front that we're just going to be standing behind them. So if you can do that now.
Et Washington, donc devant et Maison Blanche, côté nous suivre et mouvement ça, donc gagnant et haïtien et l'autre nationalité, donc les gens qui sont dans les pays hispaniques, donc qui ont même venu là devant et Maison Blanche là, je dis, pour protester et contre et mauvais traitement haïtien après c'est voir Malène Bastien et vite faut-il parler ensemble avec nous. Nous avons un très bon discours d'aléa, très malheureusement c'était en anglais, dis-nous et je dis qui ça que maintenant là et pour nous cap suivre là.
Nous là je dis pour nous amplifier voix nous avec voix millions haïtiens avec réfugiés haïtiens et réfugiés de tout notre pays pour demander à l'administration Biden pour suspendre malgré les réfugiés pour camper déportation Haïti parce que le président Biden est candidat, il devient anti-Haïti, il mettait genoux la terre, il dit que pour des changements dans l'administration, la plaidé équité et justice dans l'administration. Tout ça, nous allons faire depuis l'élu, et bien nous continuons à implémenter même politique raciste, même politique de poids de mesure, plus importe. Donc non là, je dis pour nous rappeler Biden promesse était fait, nous disons comme nous toujours dit, l'offre promesse pour Kembel, nous avons pour camper déportation pour suspendre l'utiliser Title 42. Pour déporter Haïtiens sans que papa ait due process, il n'y a pas de chance de représenter Caillou comme ça doit. C'est pas illégal il fait parce que le réfugié a rentré dans le pays. Si ton pays dans le pays d'Haïti qui réellement a traversé un moment difficile, côté d'un pile monde qui a mouru, en pile kidnapping, en pile instabilité politique, même États-Unis, département d'État, mettez en note sur le website qui dit Américain pour quitter Haïti parce qu'Haïti est trop dangereux. Si Haïti est trop dangereux, comment faire pour déporter femmes, garçons, petits monde dans un pays qui est dangereux? Donc, nous avons demandé à l'administration pour suspendre l'hypocrisie. La guerre haïtienne en prison. Bayo, ça nous est l'anglais, humanitarian parole. Camper Title 42. Passons en loi immigration pour bail, les gens qui ont TPS, les gens qui ont Dakar, les gens qui ont sans document, les gens qui ont essential workers, résidence, jusqu'à ce que vous avez des citoyens américains. Et puis, nous situation, nous bouquet pour un blank check dans la démocratie. Nous bouquet pour un blank check dans la démocratie. Nous avons besoin pour agir cognaire, nous n'avons pas besoin de promesses vides, nous n'avons pas besoin de promesses vides, nous avons besoin de camper déportation, de bail résidence cognaire, pas mois prochain, pas année prochaine, nous avons besoin de résidence.
Vous pensez qu'il y a possibilité avec majorité fragile ça, Joe mentionne les campérettes, donc pour ta voter?
Il y a une possibilité pour faire, il y a une majorité dans le Sénat, il y a une majorité dans la House là. Projet loi, provision qui est dans la reconstruction bill là, provision ça, li
capable de passer si démocratie.
Mais ça qui est dans la reconstruction de bill là, il n'est pas metté pour patrouiller tout citizenship, ni permanent resident, c'est juste son temporaire toujours.
Non. C'est à moins que changer ça.
Alors ça qui voté dans la House là, il n'est pas gagné. À moins que le Sénat a changé, mais est-ce qu'on a confiance que c'est possible que on va être capable de faire jeudi là parce que nous.
Tout bagage possible parce qu'il y a une majorité, tout bagage possible. Parce que c'est ça qui fait la démocratie. L'heure dans la campagne, il a toujours dit à faire. Et puis l'heure élu, il a dit pas qu'à faire. Et bien c'est parce que nous n'avons jamais hold their feet to the fire. They can do it and they need to do it now.
Merci beaucoup Marlène Bastien. Voilà, donc une baronne soit dire tu parles avec nous, do you speak Haitian Creole? Yeah, okay, what would you say? Okay, qui sont qu'a dit nous aujourd'hui là, qui ça que nous venir?
Moi-même, moi travaille pour Florida, Immigrant Coalition. So, nous juste venons Florida. So, nous juste, moi je suis dire ici pour Florida. Il y a aussi ce qui peut aider aussi que il y a que nous citizenship, c'est un problème. Mécanisme aussi, Google, il y a Florida Immigration Coalition. Florida Immigration Coalition. So, il y a besoin d'informations pour aider aussi.
Donc je dis c'est Florida ou sorti ou venir dans le mouvement jeudi. D'accord, merci en pile. Vous ne parlez encore. Voilà, donc c'est le mouvement qui commence là, et messieurs dames, donc nous avons parlé ensemble avec les amis ça qui lui-même était font un très bon discours et qu'on y a nous allons qui j'en suis capable privé dans tête mouvement et alors il y a plusieurs dizaines de monde haïtiens et dominicains qui gagnent monde qui sortent dans plusieurs autres pays surtout et pays Amérique latine donc qui ont même demandé pour Biden ils font camper ensemble avec et politique raciste liée. Donc je dis c'est devant Maison Blanche et avenue de Lafayette donc devant Maison Blanche là exactement et mouvement lui-même l'étape faite nous t'étendons et plusieurs discours et nous-mêmes et Zoom Haiti News avec Caribbean Television Network nous là vous capable de continuer et partager live yo gardez ensemble avec nous si vous pas gain possibilité garder sur les réseaux sociaux sur Facebook sur YouTube vous capable garder le tout là dans moment on a parlé avec moi et sur Roku sur Amazon TV Fire on va chercher et ZHN Live et puis CTN Live donc c'est Caribbean Television Network Live cap ba ou possibilité pour capable garder depuis c'est ça qui a passé depuis c'est ça qui concerne haïtiens donc pour nous ba ou occasion ou même et pour capable connaître et qui ça qui a passé dans la vie et frère avec ses nous quel que soit et côté et on compte ça déjà nous déjà gagné et représentant Brésil et Chili et Mexique Canada et la France donc en façon pour nous capable et permettre nous gagner toute information sur et qui ça qui a passé dans la vie et haïtien pareil nous et monde qui dans l'autre nation tout donc je dis nous là et dans Washington live donc pour être capable de porter baou et manifestation ça qui a fait là pour demander camper avec déportation puisque jusqu'à hier l'administration Biden a continué à déporter Haïtiens toujours en Haïti donc demander camper avec déportation et puis bay moun yo et résidence donc m'pa gagner et capacité pour moi et qui ça nous qui qualité image yo mais continuer et supporter nous et mesdames messieurs donc dans le mouvement ça aujourd'hui là et nous là et n'a porté ba tout mouvement depuis le commencement jusqu'à la fin donc nous dans 15e avenue et aujourd'hui là kounya là côté et mouvement donc lui-même il est censé virer donc discours fini maintenant c'est parti et marche là donc nous-mêmes nous et nous là nous et à permettre tout donc pour ou même suivre et ça qui a passé là et je dis
The people united will never be defeated. 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 But John 5:3. fini. Va toi on perd.
Voilà, donc et manifestation donc et a commencé, l'a continué et nous dans 15e avenue, donc fait que dépassé avenue Lafayette et côté en face Maison Blanche là, donc on y a là pour et manifestation et dans zone ça c'est côté gagné et gros disposition et sécurité qui ont même prend pour capable permettre et manifestation elle déroulée comme ça doit et puis veiller tout puisque nous connaît c'est dans zone Maison Blanche donc c'est côté gagné et plus et sécurité ici aux États-Unis n'a permet de suivre et mouvement. C'est comme ça, mouvement il y a fait. Alors c'est pas la grande foule, c'est pas un pile monde, mais c'est quand même très significatif. Et côté donc monde ça même réunis et nous prenons le mouvement déjà pour capable demander résidence donc on fait et déportation yo et pour Haïti nous en pile drapeau et Haïti donc dans là et tato fortitoa c'est politique Donald Trump a adopté et qui consistait donc kembe mounio et rete au Mexique monde qui demande asile et pour la grande majorité haïtienne mais que l'autre nationalité tout donc kembe l'autre bord en attendant un juge qui est décidé sous et dossier donc ça a créé en principe remain en Mexico donc c'est ça que les tato fortitoa donc nous là et dans 15e et dans week-end donc nous suivons toujours mouvement pour côté et donc moun yo même y a pu continuer et manifester. Qui ça que nous aujourd'hui ici?
Ici, mon frère.
Qui ça que nous qui sont venus demander?
C'est officiel, qui c'est juste Valley, qui sont même. Moi, c'est juste Valley. Et je viens, vous êtes nous qu'on a fait monter en bas pont. Moi, j'étais dans Jerry, dans Texas, c'est la fin comme yo. Moi, ouais, pour yo, my grand, yo mettez chaîne si yo, chaîne dans le yo, yo mettez chaîne dans le yo. Moi, jeune dame qui fait petit en bas pont, ils sont même. Moi, j'étais venu dans l'avion. On peut sortir ici. Pour tout le monde, assez misère, on va prendre la capitale. Je peux risquer 3 millions de euros. Je veux que je suis à Saïman. Je veux que je suis à Saïman 42. Je veux que je suis à sitiasyon.
Quand tu descends ça, ils font du hockey. est-ce qu'on pense que c'est possible pour moun yo joindre et résidence en ça, Jean Congrès aille là, je dis là?
Ouais, nous avons obligé, mais c'est parce que Dieu est capable de faire briller. Il faut briller pas suffit. Parce que si briller te suffit, si suffit il y a des stable. Donc nous continuons de mouvement, on continue chaque année, chaque mois. C'est son problème. Imaginez, Haïti a touché l'argent. Peut-être que Dieu nous donne et quelques bagages comme ça. Qui va même Haïti, qui a démonté, qui a continué Haïti, qui va même parler langue quand même, qui va même faire un pays. Bagage ça dit, pas bon, ça qu'il a fait Haïtien, on est l'autre nation. Ou même qui Haïtien qui parle langue. Imaginons, l'on devant moun qui parle anglais avec créole seulement. Il va comprendre les Haïtiens, on va pas donner bon argent, parce que parle avec nous. Je dis que c'est deux pays qui comprennent, c'est pas avec nous là. C'est dans la carte comprendre ça, Haïtien pas c'est comme ça. Comme qui va dire c'est un monde qui se consacre au problème dans le pays. Il fait la vie, il fait c'est peut-être ça que il possible pour nous capable là. Les amis.
Comment relais?
Moi les deux
D'accord, merci en pile, c'est ton plaisir. Voilà, donc nous avons parlé avec camarade Salah lui-même qui devient dans le mouvement, sorti Spring Valley, venu à Washington dans les manifestations et pour capable monter et camper déportation haïtien yo et résidence pour monde qui a un TPS, monde qui là ici et aux États-Unis. Donc jeudi et c'est là nous donc n'a porté mouvement ça va où nous et on est très belle madame photographe donc nous comprenons et qui est même venu là et vient couvrir l'événement et vient supporter le mouvement tout. So I'm talking about you right now. Say you just came to support the movement to us for us right now. From New York, you came from New York. What brings you today right here? Immigration. So, do you think it's possible that Haitian or immigrants, undocumented immigrants, have green card this year? You think it's possible? Ok, thank you. Donc nous comprenons c'est pas seulement haïtien qui viennent donc et l'autre nation, c'est pas seulement monde qui sans document tout qui ont même venu dans le mouvement ça. Donc quand nous est là c'est dans le 14e dans rue 14 dans Ron Brown et oui Ron Brown. Donc on a continué et mouvement pour et on a continué bah où et donc information yo et chercher monde qui pour capable témoigner sur situation immigrants haïtiens yo j'aime nous t'a raconté déjà jusqu'à hier te gagné déportation qui t'a fait côté gagné plusieurs avions qui allaient Haïti et jodi à nous et misère haïtien qui nous même dans tapachou là et a passé donc autorité mexicaine yo donc déplacer de temps en temps des moun yo depuis c'est l'argent yo té porté donc ça fini et donc par contre qui c'est pour prier objectif là c'est arriver aux États-Unis mais États-Unis fermé et frontière pour moun yo. Donc l'important jodi pour mouvement ça fait là pour nous porter baou et toute revendication moun yo donc à nous qui te suivre. Donc sur Zoom Haiti News et Caribbean Television, on va suivre le mouvement et protestation et donc haïtien et après qui supporte l'autre nation dans Washington DC et jeudi donc pour protester contre politique migratoire administration Joe Biden et puis demander green card donc pour tout le monde qui a même 100 et documents donc dans un pays. On a continué à chercher réaction pour vous. Nous t'entendez Marlène Bastien, ou t'entendez et l'autre citoyen santé font parler ensemble avec lui et on a cherché dans manifestation et possible Donc l'autre monde qui ont même souhaité gagner et réaction sur et mouvement ça qui ont même fait là, qui a participé là-dedans bien entendu. Vous avez fait un petit parler ensemble avec nous. Ça que nous venons jeudi là. Qui compte au sorti? Donc vous pensez le possible pour gagner des green cards qui baillent en ça, Jean Congrès là? Ok.
American bueno. Aux États-Unis bueno. Sauf que nous vivons bataille pour libérer Haïti, pour libérer tout le monde qui n'a Texas.
Donc c'est important pour vous en pile. Depuis combien de temps vous vivez ici tout-même? 40 years. Mais ou pas sans document, mais vous avez une bataille pour les gens qui sont sans document. D'accord, c'est bien. Merci beaucoup. D'accord. Voilà, nous avons parlé avec Madame Sa. Donc, on y a devant le bureau de la douane, ça crée les ICE, donc US Custom Border Protection. Donc, pour venir et délivrer un message qui me permet de ouais. Et donc, devant ça qui a passé devant ICE là. Donc, voilà. Voilà, donc ça c'est le bureau immigration, c'est comme agent qu'on a déporté pour nous, c'est là, nous est là, et je dis, donc, c'est là, et vous voyez, on fait mettre tout en dé.
Human right. Immigrants' rights are 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 human right. Thank you. Y'all sit up here. Immigrants' rights are human rights. 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 Let me hear you say that.
Excuse me.
Immigrants' rights are human rights.
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 Folks, if you don't make them uncomfortable, you will never be comfortable.
Amen.
If you never make them uncomfortable, you will never be comfortable. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
If you know why you are here, you got to speak up. You got to raise up your voice.
Yes.
Because if you don't speak up now, there will come a time there will be no one left to speak up for you.
Yeah.
Freedom is now.
Yes.
Freedom is now.
Freedom is now.
No one is free until all is free.
That's right.
Listen, no one is free until all are free.
Yes.
No one is free until all are free.
Have you seen Colin? Okay.
No one is free until all are free.
No one is free until all are free.
No one is free until all
Colin,
are free.
tu as besoin de parler ensemble avec nous en attendant le discours comme c'est. Ah, nous allons parler tout à l'heure.
All are free.
No one is free until all are free.
Title 42.
And 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 Title 42.
What do you want?
Justice.
What do you want?
Justice.
do you want?
Justice!
When do you want it?
Now!
When do you want it?
Now!
Do you want it tomorrow?
No!
Do you want it next year?
No!
Do you want it yesterday?
No!
When do you want it?
Now!
When do you want it?
Now!
End Title 42!
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 Immigrants' rights are human rights!
Immigrant rights are human rights!
Immigrants' rights are human rights!
Immigrant rights are human rights!
Immigrants' rights are human rights!
Immigrant rights are human rights!
Immigrants' rights are human rights!
Immigrant rights are human rights!
Thank you.
You know your story. You know where you come from. You know they've had you very bad.
Thank you so much for that passion and also just the joy that everyone had walking up here. I know I said it earlier, but I think it's amazing that when we're talking about these heavy and cruel policies implemented by the people behind us, that we can walk up here with so much joy and so much courage. And so it is now an honor for me to also introduce another undocumented Black colleague of mine to share his story, Ronnie James.
Welcome, Ronnie.
Bonjour, bonsoir.
Bonjour.
Okay, that's all the Creole I know.
It's a fine.
But I'm grateful to see my face and the faces around here, and know that there are immigrants from the Caribbean, immigrants from the African diaspora who are looking at me here, and I'm looking back at them. And I feel seen, and I want you to know that there's so much work that occurs, and there's so many people at the precipice of all that we do that look like us, that know our story and are fighting intensely to make sure that we have the pathway to citizenship that we have been demanding. We have a democratic House, we have a democratic Senate, and we have a democratic presidency. It is a choice not to pass immigration reform for all 11 million undocumented people. It is a choice. And we are not in the mode of choosing or selecting any more concessions, not by our electeds, not by allies in this movement. We know what we need and we know what we deserve. And a pathway to citizenship is that. Anything other than a pathway to citizenship, green cards, is a concession. And an act by the Democratic House, the Democratic Senate, and the Democratic presidency not, is a choice.
Absolutely.
I came to this country in 2006. And Sunday Pass makes 15 years since I've been here. 15 years that the ceiling has been placed on my life. Not because I'm not able to do for myself, not because others like me aren't able to do for ourselves, not because we aren't deserving, but simply because the law says we are not deserving. And I say, that's bullshit. I say it is absurd. I say in the history that, in the articulated history of America, which has been movements of people who have been disenfranchised, people who have been removed away from the power that has been granted from citizenship. And even as a Black person, I know that the history, that citizenship is not the end-all be-all, and that there are Black lives who have been lost even with citizenship. I know that, and I understand that, and I know that when I first came here, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand who came before me. I didn't understand the struggle of Black Americans here to secure myself, to be able to speak here, much like my colleague Jolisha said before. I am here because of the work of my ancestors. My ancestors were kidnapped, my ancestors were dropped in the Caribbean, and our siblings were dropped off in America. We built this country. We built our nations. And any politician that stands in the way of our progress can and will be removed. I refuse to accept anything less, any more ceilings, any more bullshit by government that does not know what it is to be an immigrant, right? Kamala Harris, we got you where you are. We got you where you are. Joe Biden, we got you where you are. Chuck Schumer, in 2019, when you promised me that you would get immigration reform passed, where are you now? Why aren't you here? Why are you not here? Why are you not here? We are tired of the concessions, and we will continue to hold our allies, our oppositions, We will hold you to a standard. We will hold you to a better standard. And the standard that we have articulated, we have sent you letters, and we have sent you the exact processes you should follow and have to follow to get us green cards. We've done the work for you. Concessions after concessions only articulates that you are unable to do. And if you are unable to do, we will remove you. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I introduce the next speaker, someone has just informed me about a tragedy that happened in Camp Haiti yesterday. Yes, and wanted us to have just a brief moment of silence before we go on with the rest of the program. So. Thank you for that. Sending lots of love and light and strength. Yeah, let's go ahead and do a unity clap. You want to lead, Ronnie?
So to honor this person we've lost, and the many people, 60 plus people that we've lost, I would like to do a unity clap. And it's in the same sense that different disenfranchised people who've come before us, they united in this one act to show solidarity amongst each other, and to show that support is not enough. We need to be in solidarity. We need to act with one another. We need to believe in each other and our ability to act. So a unity clap is essentially clapping. I'll follow. Essentially, we all come together. One more time, all right?
Thank you for that. And so with that, next I will introduce Carlene Desiree, who's the Executive Director for the Association of Haitian Women.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now! Haiti has been fighting for justice for a long time. Haiti has been fighting for justice from the U.S. for a long time. In the 70s, Haitians were possibly the only group of people, as soon as they set foot, would be arrested and deported. If they were not deported, they were locked up. And you know, behind doors, behind locks, what happened? Despite the ruthless dictatorship of Duvalier, they claimed that they were not political refugees, instead economic. It wasn't until over 10 years of after the January 12, 2010 earthquake, we ended up getting TPS. At that time, a few days after the earthquake, Kerry was at the church. All I had to say to him is, you cannot not give Haiti that status. So, how many years has it been?
Too many. Yes, too many.
How many years has it been? Too many. What's temporary now for the people who have been under TPS for over 11 years? What's temporary about that? We need it to change now. We want residency now. We want citizenship now. Again, we want residency now. We want citizenship now. I'm gonna go to another angle. I remember in the 80s, we can be a bit younger. I saw Reagan setting dogs after our Haitian brothers and sisters. That made me angry. Just this year, I saw another scene under the Del Rio Bridge at the border of Mexico and the U.S.
That made us angry.
That made me even angrier.
Yeah.
Say what? You're whipping our brothers and sisters while they're trying to get food for their children, their wife, their husband, whatever it may be?
That's immoral.
It's inhuman.
Inhuman. Inhuman.
It's wrong. We want the U.S. government to stop with all the wrongdoings against